Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Real HR Show. I am Brenda, the HR lady, and with me is my partner in crime, Suzanne Lucas, known as the evil HR lady.
Yes, that's right.
And we today are going to be talking about how the heck do you please everybody? And who?
Great question. You can't.
Yeah. All right. Well, spoiler alert. All right.
And that's the end of our show for today.
That's right. Ta-da! That's right. Here we go. Listen, but before we get too deep into the subject, we want to share with you something that's pretty awesome and very cool. How would you guys like an opportunity to meet us together on the same continent? Matter of fact, the same state, same city, even in the same building, the same room, probably 6 feet from each other. So we are going to be traveling in July. We're going to be hitting 3 cities, and we're going to be talking and delivering conversations and training on our series on winning in HR and how that can actually increase your confidence and increase your success. So we're going to be in Baltimore, July 19th. We're going to be in Dallas, July 21st. And we're going to be in Provo, Utah on July 22nd. And not only we're going to be in July on the 22nd, we're in Provo on the 22nd, we're also going to be doing a special, I'm going to be holding my active shooter training. We actually are going to be meeting in a facility that's going to be supportive of that. And this training was the same training that has been delivered by, unfortunately, my former business partner who passed away last year. We were 4 days away from launching this. And the same training that he used to actually teach teachers in Utah and Nevada. He's trained almost 7,000 people, 7,000 teachers in Nevada and Utah on how to disarm an active shooter. So we're really going to get into how you can have active shooter training without actually, creating panic and worry and concern in your organization. For those that are attending in Dallas and Baltimore, you will be able to go ahead and attend that session virtually because we're only doing it in one spot. And you'll be able to get recertification credits up to a total of 6 for both sessions. So to find that, sorry, I know, just about ready to step on Suzanne because she was going to remind.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say it's a bargain.
It is. It's a total bargain. You guys can find our events. We're posting almost daily about this over on our social. You can find it in Eventbrite. You can also go to my website, brendathehrlady.com. It's right up at the top. Choose whichever city you want to participate in. Now's the time, honestly, to get your travel arrangements together. People are starting to travel in for this. This is going to sell out. We know that. So
yes, it will.
Get your tickets. Like, you need to square this away like this week because you have the inside scoop. But yeah, so it's going to be pretty fantastic.
It is going to be amazing, and it's going to be a lot of good information talking about how to win in HR and how to get managers to listen to you the first time. Because we know in HR that a lot of times our big problem is people ignore us. So we're going to try to that was funny.
What did you just say?
This is how funny we're going to be in person. Can you imagine? We're going to be that funny in person.
That's right. So if you want that 6-pack ab look, be prepared because we may laugh you right into it.
6-pack abs, not guaranteed.
No, but highly likely at this point. So yeah, so we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. It gives us an opportunity to say hi to you folks, and not to mention for those of you who aren't able to make it to SHRM. Would you please stop chewing on my arm? Sorry. If you're not able to make it to SHRM, it gives you an opportunity to still get out, get to network, get recertification credits, and get out from behind the computer in order to do it. This stuff is not going to fail as far as meeting expectations. We're all excited about it.
It's going to be awesome.
Yes, absolutely. So, okay. So back to our session today on pleasing everybody. And that's, you know what, this is something that a lot of people run into as far as a point of concern, people who may not necessarily be really experienced on standing your ground. You know, it could be like rising HR pros, haven't had to do this a lot. Senior HR pros tend to have to do something like that a lot. But we're really going to give you some tips and tricks on how you can, what you can do to try and balance everything and still meet yet your objectives.
It's kind of a difficult situation that, well, it's not kind of a difficult situation. It is a difficult situation that the whole world was thrust into together a year and a half ago. And now, as some countries are coming out of it, as vaccine rates are going up and infection rates are going down, hospital rates are going down in some, but not all countries. It's definitely sure that not all countries, but those that are, then the question becomes, do we return to the office or do we stay working remotely? And this is a hot button issue. And over on my Facebook group, Evil HR Lady, we've had many a battle around this, with the majority of people proclaiming loudly that everyone wants to stay at home forever. And I have gotten several private messages from people saying, I don't want to stay home. I want to go back to the office, but I'm afraid if I comment that, people will attack me, which they should not on my Facebook page, because I will kick them out if they attack you personally. But it's definitely this thing that's going on where you have very vocal people wanting to stay out. And on the other side, you have some very vocal CEOs that are completely tone deaf, demanding that everybody come back. And there is a middle ground, and there is a way to make most people happy. You certainly can't make all the people happy, because then you'd have to be like a wizard. But
and something we want to be clear on, that this conversation is surrounded by companies who do not, like, in other words, not just the culture, but the function of the business is solely dependent upon people actually being on site. So organizations, like, we a while ago, God man, it was like, it was a couple months ago, we talked about this, how there was a toy manufacturer who, in order to actually bring toys out into market, rely on the team being on site, because they do play studies and they do texture studies, and it requires all of their creative minds to be together in order to determine what's the best course for this, right? That's not something that can be done simplistically. It's a measure of their success. It's part of what makes them successful as an organization, and so that's a requirement for them to come back in. So yeah, so that's very important to call that out.
They aren't always obvious, because you'd be like, oh, well, exactly, you're a marketing person. But business owners, CEOs have every right to set the standard for their business. They can say, we're going to be remote, we're going to work at home, or we're going to have everybody in the office, or we can be a hybrid model. They can do that. There's no legal requirement to have everybody working one place or the other, with a few exceptions under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And the problem is having a mismatch between employees and employer, and a lack of clear understanding. Like in Brenda's example, when you have this toy company, they could clearly articulate the reason why they should be back together working one-on-one, working on a team. On the flip side, you had the CEO of the Washingtonian, who gave a tone-deaf op-ed in the Washington Post saying people that work from home aren't as dedicated. It's like they're contractors, they should be paid less. And it did not go over well with her employees. The difference is, I don't know whether she's right or not in terms of productivity of her particular company and her particular employees. I don't have access to that information. But the way she went about it didn't clearly articulate, this is why, here is proof, here is how I know that we perform better when we work together as a team. If you can't articulate that, you probably shouldn't go around loudly proclaiming that this is the only way to do your business. You're certainly entitled to run your business however you would like within the confines of the law, but it's not really a good idea. But on the other side, I want to make sure that people understand the vast majority of people don't want to work remotely exclusively. The way you hear things going, it's like everybody wants to be remote. Everybody doesn't want to be remote. 70% of employees would like to be in the office at least one day a week, if not more. So the concept that everybody wants to be at home all the time is just not true either.
It's media driven.
It's media driven. And I think, you know, I'm someone that has worked at home for the last forever. Really, since my offspring number 2 was born, and he's 13. He just turned 13. So I've worked at home for 13 years exclusively. And I like it, but I'm under no illusions that that's the thing for everyone. But I also am a person that's on the internet a lot by the basis of my job, and the people that are advocating for this strongly tend to also be loudmouths on the internet, whereas some other people that maybe enjoy speaking with people face to face more than tweeting at them aren't making their voices known. So don't make your judgments based on what you read on Twitter. You need to talk with your actual employees, not everybody else's employees, not surveys, but talk with your employees. What do they want? How do they work best? And that is a question that you need to be able to answer before you make your policy changes.
Yeah. And something to know too is like, look, you know, as we're now coming back into, I call it the now new norm, right? Because that new norm seems to be changing, and it's going to be changing for a while yet, but the now new norm. And, you know, look, not every employee is able to work autonomously. And I was having this conversation with a client the other day, and they said, well, what does autonomously mean? Oh, I can't even say it. Autonomously mean. And I said, that means to be able to count on them to do their work without a lot of supervision. You know, they were talking about the challenges they're having with this new person, and that she sits and she has a conversation with him every day. And that the minute, you know, they leave the office, he just kind of like loses the brain cell that of all the information that they just went over, and the expectations. And I said, some people are not meant to be passed beyond the counter. And that's where they got him from. They got him from a big box retailer. He does very well as a cashier or behind the customer service desk because he knows what those expectations are all the time. And there's a lot of supervision. So not everybody is good at working autonomously, and their levels of engagement and happiness not only reflect on not only are drawn from being able to perform the kind of work that they're capable of performing, but then also having the day-to-day interactions with people, and most importantly, having the regular interaction with their manager or their leader. That's really key and critical. And employees don't do well when they don't have that. And I'll give you a personal experience. Years ago, when I worked for a Fortune 500, I had a really great boss, and, you know, we talked several times during the week. I was a highly regarded individual. I was somebody that I got a lot of problematic challenges that were required to solve. I had, you know, very frustrated clients that were turned over to me so that I could, you know, help repair the damage and, you know, reverse the trend and save the deal, so to speak, and save the relationship. And I was just somebody that was counted on all the time. I was also one of those individuals where she didn't need to like check up on me on a regular basis because I was somebody that's really capable of working autonomously. I could make decisions, but yet I knew what my boundaries were. And if I needed any help, I knew I could go to her. So we were talking about business stuff. We were talking about, you know, growing the team stuff. And we were talking about, on occasion, my client stuff or the client stuff that I was sent out to fix. And it got to the point where she's like, just, let me know if you have any problems. Otherwise, just go fix it. Well, after a while, and I'm not really even sure what happened to this day, there was a drifting between the two of us. And I don't know why. I talked to her about it once, and I thought it was resolved, and then it was a drifting that took place immediately after that. Again, it was like the drift continued on. And I got to tell you something, I was absolutely crushed. I was mourning the loss of this relationship while I was still working. And it's one of the reasons why it made me reevaluate, do I really want to stay in this environment? Because I count on having that kind of relationship that we built in order to keep me motivated and successful. It's not a lot of work. All she has to do is answer the phone. I even got to the point where I wasn't even getting the emails about some of the business stuff answered. And so I don't know what happened. There wasn't any one particular instance between the two of us that motivated, just something shifted and changed. And you know what, from that experience, I've never forgotten that, because there are other people out there that when they lose that attention from that connectivity with their relationship with their supervisor or their leaders or people that they have really strong ties with, it does impact you a lot.
It really, really can. And unless a business is purposely and purposefully creating relationships when people are working remotely, relationships aren't going to naturally grow the way that they do when you're in the same office. And I mean, if we're in the same office together, it's really easy to see people say hello, how you doing, how is the dog doing, and you just know these things because you have this kind of casual relationship. And actually yesterday I teach a class on Wednesday night, and the other teacher, it was there, and we were doing our thing, and 2 hours into it, I see she's got a big old rock on her left hand. And I'm like, what? I knew she was seriously dating someone. And I was like, when were you going to tell me? She's like, when were you going to notice? And I was like, I was a little busy. But that's an important thing to know, that she's engaged and it's very exciting. And then she showed us the video because he had planned it anyway. It was very cute. Anyhow, but those are the types of things you want to know about your coworkers. But how do you bring that up with people you hardly know on Slack? Send out a message to all, Anya's engaged. Okay, we're like, we don't really know you. And that might seem stupid, but it can really bring about this relationship. And one of those things that we struggle with right now is that if you were working together before the pandemic, you had those relationships built. So there becomes this in-group that knows each other, knows their foibles, knows that Anya was dating someone, blah, blah, blah. But then you've hired new people who've never met you in person, and they don't have those relationships, and you guys are going on in your back channel conversations, your private instant messages, and these people are being left out. You have to purposefully and purposely bring people in to create those relationships if you have decided to stay remote. I'm not opposed to remote employees. I'm not opposed to on-site. My favorite is the hybrid model, but you have to be aware, because those relationships don't happen as naturally when you're not together. They can happen. I mean, to be honest, Brenda and I have never been on the same continent, but
Nope.
I mean, we have been, but not since we met each other.
Not at the same time.
But we've talked a lot, and we've worked to build that relationship with each other. And we've talked a lot about things that are unrelated to business. And sometimes managers are like, no, it's all business all the time. It can't be all business all the time if you want to build successful relationships. Otherwise, just hire robots to do the work. And you say, I can't get robots to do this work. I need people, because people can do things that robots can't. And I'm like, yes. And then people need to have connections with other people. So if you are going to go stay remote, great. what are you going to do to build those relationships, especially with new hires?
Right.
And then if you're going to have a hybrid model, does that mean everybody is coming into the office at some point? Or are you having some people coming into the office and some people working at home exclusively? If you are doing that, how do you make sure to keep that both of those groups are rewarded and listened to the same way? You don't want to just promote the people that come in every week because you see them and ignore the people that are remote. If you make that an option, you need to make sure that you have set up everybody for success.
Right. Exactly. And it's something that's going to happen, or it's just an innocent thing, and it happens even when teams are in person, but somebody's going to slip through the cracks. And even though if you have people that reporting to you, if you have managers that report to you or managers that are working, they may believe that they are doing everything that they should be. But the person on the receiving end who's slipping through the cracks is not getting the attention that they absolutely need. So, pleasing everybody comes in a lot of different ways. It could be some people don't want as much attention as that you are wanting to give, and that could be a turn off, right? You have people that are not getting enough, and that's going to be a turn off. Um, you should have a practice in place, or you should actually be encouraging your managers to put a practice in place to meet with their employees, with their team members and their direct reports at least once a month. And then that way they can give consistent feedback. And it should be a one-on-one developing moment. My team that I have and the people that actually work for me, I meet with them every Monday. And the reason why we meet every Monday is that we walk through everything that's going on in the organization and the grand scheme of things and the design. And then I ask them, what are your challenges? Because it's my job to lead them through that, right? So I ask them, what are their obstacles? And I'll either help them figure out how to overcome them, or sometimes they'll just figure it out on their own. But that's fine. I still want to know what they are. Or I'll actually help them get them out of their way, because that's my job. And when you do that, that level of loyalty builds, and that will eliminate a lot of the challenges that people are going to go through, leaders that are going to go through, as far as pleasing everybody in this now new norm. And it's also going to retain necessary employees, because let's face it, right now, we know the pain that's involved in trying to find people to work out there. Now, we're going to start seeing a shift in that in the next literally 2 days here in Virginia and a handful of other states. I think like 12 other states or something like that. They are no longer going to be offering the expanded or the extended unemployment benefits. So people are going to start emerging again. But if they've been out for a while, you may not necessarily want to bring them because they may not have the kind of experience, or you see that as a gap, right? So again, there's another piece on the how do you please everybody. And that's going to be, how do you fill open vacancies when now you have a talent pool that's opening up, but you don't still have the necessary or the required people. And those people may not want to come in. So
if you can't find the people that you need, you have two options. One, you can raise your rate of pay, which will bring in more people.
Mhm.
Or two, you can start working to train people to fill the positions that you need. And that's something that companies have to do. When you're just sitting around waiting for the perfect person to show up, perfect people don't exist outside of me and Brenda, and we've already got them. So
and that's like dating, man. I'll tell you, finding a candidate is a lot like dating, isn't it?
oh yes.
You gotta kiss a
Yes.
lot of frogs.
Although, to be clear, you should not be kissing candidates.
You take that phrase
Just want to be
literally.
clear on that.
If you take that phrase literally, we need to talk.
I just don't want those angry tweets coming out, that you do, but you can also turn frogs into beautiful
People.
princesses or princes or whatever
Royalty.
frogs turn into
There you
when
go.
you kiss them. Royalty, although to be fair, royalty. Anyway,
Yeah, let's not go there.
those I go there. You can make those people yourself, and actually that ends up often better for you. I just wrote about a case this week where a university spent 18 months searching to fill the position for the head of their theater. And they found this guy who just was tremendous. He had done everything you could possibly want. He was miraculous. Turns out it was all a lie, but he had written this resume that checked off every one of their boxes. And I suspect that they were so excited to find this unicorn that they just skipped the background check altogether because, oh my gosh,
biases kicked in.
he's it. This is it. If they had taken someone that was less qualified 17 months ago, in that same 18-month period, you could have trained up someone to be exactly who you wanted. So when you say, I'm just going to wait till I find the right person, well, how long would it take to train someone to be that right person? Maybe you should hire someone that's good enough today and then train them, rather than wait 18 months and then end up with this guy who just totally lied. I mean, they should have picked up on something. They didn't even call his university to verify the degrees. They didn't do any of their due diligence. And I'm sure that it was because he was perfect on paper.
He was beautiful.
He was beautiful. He was a frog that already had his crown.
But you know what? That happens. Yeah, and it happens. Though. I mean, those biases kicked in because, we're so thirsty for what it is that we're looking for, that sometimes we're willing to drink the sand. Name that movie. And so, not you, Suzanne, other people.
I'm trying to think.
No, I'll tell you what it is offline. But
okay.
Yeah. So if you can guess that, you know what? If you can guess that, hit us up in the comments and I will pick a random person, because we're gonna the audio of this is gonna be up on our YouTube channel, The Real HR Show. And in the comments, I'm gonna watch for it. If you get the movie right, I'll send you one of my new books, which is the best practices in human resources. How to claw your way from wannabe to VP. It was just released last weekend. So
as a bestseller, Brenda's being modest.
Yeah.
As a bestseller and still on the bestseller list. So
yep. Thank you.
Get your copy.
Yeah. A little shameless plug there, but that's what happens with us, and meeting that demand of filling the holes. And yet, do you fill the holes with a qualified person or a person that could be qualified, or are you filling the holes with just a warm body because it's necessity, and then you're just going to wind up paying the price for it? But yeah, I think what people really need to hear when it comes to addressing, whether you're addressing the now and getting people back into the now new norm, or in general and trying to reestablish or reformulate your culture, because there's going to be some things that are going to change. At the end of the day, they need to hear from leaders. They need to hear the reinforcement from HR pros. HR pros, you need to work on, communicating effectively, giving your managers those all important talking points so that they understand how to address these types of things, because people are going to push back. Right? They're going to push back from a couple of different reasons. They're going to push back from a position of comfort. They may not necessarily want to disrupt that they have now put into place after a disruption. They may find that, yeah, in fact, you know what? I am actually more capable and can get through, doing the work and have somewhat of a life or feel that they do, or maybe they are more effective working without the disruption of people coming in, right? So, and then, they just have people that are coming in looking for jobs and they're like, well, everybody else is hiring remote. That's really what I want, without really understanding what the demands of the role is. So you're really going to have to up your ante on expectations and communicating them, and your active listening and really listening for what people are saying, not only saying, but what they're not saying, so that you can address everything.
And it's that active listening
Mhm.
and that active communicating.
Yeah.
And as managers, as owners, as HR, we need to be doing all of that. You cannot assume that people want one thing or another. You actually need to speak with them. And that's why I say speak with your employees. Don't just look at surveys. Speak with your employees. What do they really, really want? Look at your actual numbers. Have people been more productive at home?
Yep.
And are they happy doing that? They may be more productive, but they may not be happy. There are lots of people that prefer to work in an office. I actually just dealt with a case where an employee said that working at home was causing her stress, and so the business had gone completely remote, and what she wanted was as an ADA accommodation for the business to rent office space for her to work in, which is so opposite from where we were 18 months ago. You would never hear that.
Mhm.
But she had a legitimate thing. Her doctor was willing to fill out the ADA paperwork that, for whatever reason, working at home was causing her incredible stress. Now, it turns out to rent a co-working space for her was incredibly cheap, like $150 a month. And so that's what I advised the company to do is, don't worry about whether this meets ADA or not. It's an incredibly cheap solution. It keeps your employee happy, and you're already saving a fortune because you shut down your offices. Pay the $150 a month. You get a happy employee that's productive.
Yep.
It was a total flip on the head. But don't think that that person is unusual. There are lots of people out there that really want to be in an office, that really like that structure, that like to know I am at work and now I'm at home. This is one of the real struggles of working from home. Here I am working from home in my bedroom because I live in the city and I have an apartment. I don't have a fancy office. There can be some boundaries there that I have to maintain. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody wants to do it. It's a lot easier to be like, now I'm in the office and now I'm gone. Now I'm in the office.
Yep.
Those are things you can do. But you, as the manager, as the owner, as HR, need to listen
Yeah.
and need to communicate clearly and set boundaries and expectations around what people are doing.
Yeah. And look, there's still people out there that are getting guidance from their physicians, not under ADA specifically, but they are getting, excuse me, guidance from their physicians as to whether they should or shouldn't be taking the vaccine, which is also going to make some changes happen in your organization.
Yes.
And we're now hearing more and more about big companies, and I can't name one specifically, but I had a conversation with somebody Saturday on my way back from Dallas a week ago. Oh my gosh, it's already been last weekend. And with a particular health matter that he had, once he found out, what I did, he asked me a question. They actively are watching a health condition. His physician has said, absolutely, you are not to get the vaccine because it could complicate that, and you have nothing wrong with you right now, but yet his employer is potentially requiring him to actually get the vaccine and mandate it. Otherwise, he's off a particular program. And that could, after 30 years of working for this company, he has no intention to retire just yet, could actually cause a problem for him. And, that's a very delicate situation to work through, especially since we know that there are some court cases out there around mandating the vaccine, and some employers right now, they're like, listen, we have the ability to go ahead and make that determination now and move forward on that course of action now. And you know what? We're not ready to go down that road of having to figure it. So here we are today. This is what we're going to do until it gets litigated, and and they've got more information. So it's complicated, and it's not going to get any easier. Well, that's not true. It's not, I don't think it's going to get any more complicated than it already is, but I think it's going to take some time to get easier as we go on, because we're still in the situation. We've been in a situation for 18 months that there are more questions than answers. And so the more these situations work their way out in courts and we have litigation and then that forms our best practices, then then we'll have some stuff to draw on. But it's just, look, pleasing everybody, it's just going to take time. And you're likely, it's this old adage that I used to say, if you could put all of your information into a grenade, pull the pin and throw it into your crowd of people, you'll probably hit 20% on the first shot. Right? This is one of those virtual grenades that it's just going to take time. You're going to have to just continually work on, because if you pull the pin, you're probably going to get about 60% effectiveness, and you're just going to have to work through the rest of the 40, and you'll probably won't satisfy the 10 or 20.
No, and don't kill yourself to satisfy the 10 or 20, but do bust your buns to satisfy the 80 or 90.
Exactly.
And you can do that through listening, boundaries, and communication. Those are your 3 key points: listening, boundaries, communication. Because if you can set all of those clearly, then people know what they're getting into. And they also have the ability to choose what they wish to do. There's lots of jobs available right now, and there's going to be more popping up because people are anxious to change jobs right now.
Yep.
So now is a time also, if you want to do something different for your business, now's the time to do it. If as you're having turnover happen, to hire people that fit your new vision or whatever that is going to be, because that's possible. Everything's possible.